All right, talking about this married system of fuel cell, electrolyzer, and battery.
With more research and incentives, we can break our dependence on oil and become the first country to have 1 million electric vehicles on the road by 2050. We need to get behind this innovation. And to help pay for it, I'm asking Congress to eliminate the billions in taxpayer dollars we currently give to oil companies.
Hi, I'm Bob Aronson, Chairman and CEO of Apollo Energy Systems. We're developing new batteries and fuel cells for electric cars. Our battery is what we would call a tripolar lead-cobalt battery, which will replace lithium-ion batteries in the future. The battery has about the same weight and energy density of lithium-ion, but would cost about 20% of lithium-ion, and also can be fast charged, no problem with our battery in as far as overheat, fire, and explosion that is common with lithium batteries. We've been in the battery business and fuel cell business for many years. Our roots in the battery business go back to 1953 when we had our first battery plant in Puerto Rico for 10 years, and then a battery plant in New Orleans for 6 years. We were in Detroit for 16 years making batteries and electric cars. General Motors purchased one of our electric cars called the Mars 2 and had it tested for over a year and found that it had a range of 146 miles on a charge. With the new battery in that car, the range would be 350 miles on a charge. Our batteries have been used not only in over 100 full-size electric vehicles. There was one race in 1968 and one in 1970, and the winning vehicles in those cars had our batteries. The batteries were recharged at Holiday Inns along the way every 7,500 miles in about 45 minutes, and this was something new to the electric car industry, having a battery that could be recharged so rapidly. And of course, as I mentioned, we won both of those races. The fuel cell is something that we're now going to be adding to the battery. When we have an electric car with a battery, it has a certain range. For example, 146 miles in the Mars 2, 350 miles with the new battery in the Mars 2. But at the end of that time, why, you'd have to stop and recharge. With the fuel cell, you don't have to stop and recharge, because the fuel cell acts as an onboard charger and keeps the battery charged at all times. So as long as the fuel cell is operating, the battery stays charged and the vehicle can keep running. The fuel cell works on hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen could come from water, which is electrolyzed, or it could come from ammonia, NH3. And of course, oxygen comes from the air. 20% of the air is oxygen. So by feeding oxygen and hydrogen into the fuel cell then produces electricity continuously and charges the battery continuously, so the battery never needs to be recharged. Therefore, the range on a full-size car, such as the Silver Volt electric car, with a 30 kilowatt fuel cell and a 42 kilowatt hour battery would have a range of 480 miles on 26 gallons of ammonia or water if we use the electrolyzer. Most of the auto industry, as a matter of fact, 74 automakers have announced that they will introduce electric cars. Some of them have already done so, such as General Motors with the Chevy Volt, and Nissan with their Leaf car, and Tesla with its car. And these cars, these newer cars, and most of the 74 automakers are planning to use the lightest battery that they can find. Automakers always want to use something light as possible in their car. Well, the lightest battery around is a lithium battery. It's very light, and it also is very powerful. Lithium batteries are used in cell phones, and they're used in laptop computers. They're small. The battery that we have used over the years in our electric cars is a tripolar lead cobalt battery, which was tested by General Motors in 1967 and shown to have a range of 146 miles. And that was 1967. And here's their testimony. The battery that gave us that kind of performance was what we call a tripolar lead cobalt battery, which is this battery, in which the plates are connected to one another in 6 places, 2 places at the top and 4 at the bottom. So we have 6 current collectors in the cell. Now this has done a great job for us over the years. But now all of a sudden everybody wants a lighter battery, a lithium battery. So we have developed something that will compete with the lithium battery. The weight of this grid, which goes into the lead cobalt battery, if you'll check here, you'll see that this weighs 4.67 ounces. Now we've come up with a lead foam grid. This is the same size, which will be much lighter and will compete with the lithium. And the weight of this, as you can see, is 0.700. In other words, this is 1/6 of the weight of this. Now the weight of this is equivalent to the weight of a grid in a lithium battery. So here we have we can build a battery with lead foam that will weigh the same, have the same weight as a lithium battery and have the same power density as a lithium battery. Now what's the difference then? Why would somebody choose lead cobalt battery rather a lead foam battery rather than a lithium battery? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, the cost of this battery is 20% of the cost of lithium batteries, so it's much less expensive, and that's a huge big factor for the auto industry.
So instead of subsidizing yesterday's energy, let's invest in tomorrow's.
In this container, you would have 3 cells. You have your bus bars at the bottom, and you have your 2 bus bars at the top and 4 bus bars at the bottom. That's your tripolar construction.
Mm-hmm. And you have
this is a lead cobalt cell.
okay, and 3 of those go in, and altogether equals the weight of a lithium battery, equals the output of a lithium battery, is a fraction of the cost, 1/5 the cost, right?
20% of the cost.
That's
So if a lithium battery costs $100, this lead foam battery would cost $20.
Amazing. And of course, you're not constrained to this configuration. You can have these configurations over here, which can make a better use of card volume dynamics. Maybe you can put these batteries inside panels and have more room within the chassis of the car for other things.
Yes, they can be stacked up.
And when gas prices go up, it hurts everybody. Everybody who owns a car, everybody who owns a business. It means you've got to stretch a paycheck even further. It means you've got to find even more room in a budget that was already really tight.
All right, talking about this married system of fuel cell, electrolyzer, and battery.
30-volt, 5-kilowatt fuel cell is connected to a battery. You see here's the switch. Now we're connecting a fuel cell to this battery. This is a 24-volt battery. The electrolysis is created by the fuel being water and some metals. To give you an example, you can understand chemical electrolysis in the laboratory by taking a beaker of water, adding some potassium hydroxide for conductivity, and then throwing into this solution some strips of aluminum. Now, when you throw aluminum into this beaker of water and KOH, you'll find bubbles coming up, and those are oxygen and hydrogen bubbles. So you're getting oxygen and hydrogen from not water, but from the aluminum. Now, that's called chemical electrolysis. Now, electrical electrolysis is something different. Let's say you have the same beaker of water with some potassium hydroxide in it. Now you have a battery, and here's the negative post and here's the positive post. You run a wire from the positive post and another wire from the negative post into the beaker of water. So now you have two wires connected to a battery in this water, and bubbles come off the ends of both wires. So what are we getting? Oxygen and hydrogen. This is an alkaline fuel cell that operates on hydrogen and oxygen. And hydrogen goes in here, oxygen goes in here. Actually, air goes in here because air contains oxygen. 20% of the air is oxygen. You have the air coming in here, and that's your oxygen, hydrogen coming in here, and then potassium hydroxide is circulated through the system, which starts back here and ends up here and is pumped through the system. This is a 5 kilowatt fuel cell.
And that's more than enough to run a bus, right?
Well, a small bus, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And how much does this weigh?
86 pounds.
This could also go in a car as well.
Yes, yes. Yeah, this would go into a car.
Do you think you get the size down?
You can make it as small as you want, or as large as you want.
So the little green car out there, how big do you think you need?
This is what would go in the little green car, which is called a Mars 5. Volt. We made 14 of them in Detroit.
Now that's a heavier car. So you say there's a potential of 480 miles with the new battery system you have today for that car. What would it be for a lighter car like this one?
This is a small car, so you can't put a lot of battery and a lot of fuel cell in a small car because you have limited space. But by putting our new battery and fuel cell in this little car, the range would be 180 miles, and then you'd have to fill up with ammonia, 10 gallons of ammonia, and then you could go another 180 miles, or 10 gallons of water if we had an electrolyzer instead of an ammonia cracker on board the vehicle.
Do you think you could fit an electrolyzer into a car this size as
elec-
well?
elec-
So that's 3 units?
Electrolyzer is about 21 inches tall, 12 inches wide, 12 inches deep. And we could change the shape of it as long as we have the same amount of cubic space. So the electrolyzer could easily go in the trunk of this car. Nissan that has an electric car that's all battery, 100% battery, no engine at all. And the performance of that car is less than the performance of our Mars 2 electric car in 1967. We made a comparison of all the performance parameters, and the Mars 2 electric car that we built in 1967, we made 45 of them incidentally, has better performance than today's Nissan, which is all electric with lithium-ion batteries. When we finish the development of our new battery, why then we will send performance data and Navy certification tests to Nissan and to all the other auto companies that have announced that they're going into electric cars. For example, there are 74 automakers around the world that have announced that they're going to be producing electric cars. And when we finish our development here, why, we will let them all know what we've got, and several of them have already been here to see us. And they're just waiting for us to finish the new battery, and then we hope that our battery could replace the batteries that are in the Chevy Volt and also Fisker Automotive in California. I think we called all their cars. And when our new battery is in production, why, we will be able to replace those batteries, those lithium-ion batteries. At that point, maybe 16% of the lithium-ion battery. Right now, it would cost about 20% of the lithium-ion battery.
Well, that's really pretty remarkable. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer for people who are interested in your company, wouldn't you think?
Yes, and of course, the battery could be fast charged as well. Lithium-ion batteries cannot be fast charged. They would overheat. They'd be subject to thermal runaway, fire, and explosion. So you could not put very large currents through a lithium-ion battery, but we can do that in our batteries. We've done that for years and years and proved that time and time again. So the first proof was in those two cross-country races between Caltech and MIT in 1968 and 1970, when the cars were driven across the country, fast charge at Holiday Inns in 45 minutes, and proved the concept. Really worked very well.
Wonderful that Holiday Inn support still manifests today. Is that correct? They're gonna.
Yes.
You plan to actually make an excursion across the country. Is that correct?
That's right. We have 5 Silver Volt electric cars here.
And some folks have no choice but to drive a long way to work. And high gas prices are like a tax straight out of your paycheck.
What you've created here is a lead cobalt battery with new lead foam design. That's a lighter battery comparatively to other lead acid batteries, and comparable to the weight and output of a lithium battery. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and lead is far more plentiful on this earth than lithium.
All right, well, we have 5 of these Silver Volt electric cars, and we plan to install our new tripolar lead cobalt batteries in them and drive them from here to Washington, D.C., and from there on to Los Angeles, California, and then back, charging at Holiday Inns every 200 or 250 miles, fast charging, and continuing on. And we plan to have in each major city, we plan to have a press conference.
So who are you inviting to the press conferences?
We will invite the local media and
Governors of the state?
in these 5 cars, there'll be four persons in each car, a driver and 3 passengers. So that 4 times 5 cars is 20 persons. And on each leg of the trip, we hope to have a different set of drivers and passengers, high-profile people if we can get them, and media people.
I hope I can come.
Well, you're invited to be either a driver or a passenger.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
Can we? Is it possible to get one of the newer electric cars to come along too?
After the trip has been made, and we've gone from here to Washington D.C. and then to Los Angeles and back, then we will challenge all makers of electric cars to a cross-country race, including General Motors and Ford and Chrysler and Nissan and Tesla and Fisker and all the other people who are making electric cars. We'll try to challenge them to a cross-country race.
That's exciting. So the challenge is on.
The challenge will be made at that time.
Okay, and very importantly, you're also interested in regenerative braking, and you feel that you can get back at least 20%. Is that what you were saying?
Well, on regenerative braking, during deceleration, when you take your foot off the accelerator pedal and the car goes into a deceleration mode, the electric motor becomes a generator and charges the battery. Now, in stop-and-go traffic, in city traffic, you could possibly get as much as 20% additional range because every time you stop at a stoplight, while you're getting charged back into the battery. On long trips, why you wouldn't have that much of advantage because you don't stop and start. So stopping and starting is what would give you an extra 20%.
You know there are no quick fixes to this problem. You know we can't just drill our way to lower gas prices. If we're going to take control of our energy future and can start avoiding these annual gas price spikes that happen every year when the economy starts getting better, world demand starts increasing, turmoil in the Middle East or some other parts of the world, if we're going to avoid being at the mercy of these world events, we've got to have a sustained, all of the above strategy that develops every available source of American energy.